Bill, do you mind before we jump into survey results, can I give just a very high level welcome to everybody?
Sure.
You mind? Um, this is pretty exciting because a lot of us have been talking, but I think in like different groups and in different committees. So this is kind of fun, like seeing people in a space together, which is really nice. And I think we want to try to do this more often, hopefully, to get kind of this overlap between the different groups and committees. Um, We also have more new volunteers joining us right now than we ever have. Like the number of volunteers that are joining on a regular basis, meeting with Bill and kind of the volunteer coordination team, going through the orientation process is higher. That rate is kind of quickly growing, which is just an exciting time for the organization. Lots of activities happening simultaneously, so it's great to see everybody tonight. Really excited that Bill is organizing these types of events so we can continue to get feedback from everybody and make this kind of stronger as we go. Everybody's feedback is very welcome as we go along here. So good to have you on the team.
Thanks, PJ. So sent out the survey, and as I said, I bombarded people with emails to respond. 24 people did. 22 of them responded within the cutoff that I gave, and two more came in after that. And unfortunately, I was so tied up putting together the information that we already had that I didn't get a chance to include those last two, and I apologize to them for that. But we'll go back and look, and if there's anything really significant, I'll try and get that out to folks as well. What I really thought was, and that's 16% of the invitations. I was kind of foolishly hoping for 20. And 16 was with the 22, so we're probably up to maybe 18%. So getting pretty close to that. What was interesting that 16 now, kind of the other two of the respondees of the 24 put their name in and said, I'm willing to talk about it. And I think that says a very good thing about the kind of attitude and teamwork that we've got, that folks are not just responding, but willing to put their name associated with it, including, comments that we need to do better as part of that. I found the text answers to questions 6 to 10 more interesting than the numerical responses to questions 1 to 5. So I'm going to try and go fairly quickly through 1 through 5 just to show you see the responses and a couple of comments, and certainly give everybody a chance to ask any questions or comment on that. We're going to spend more time on the comments that we got and answer responses to questions 7 through 10. We have a number of board members with us as part of this meeting. I want to be clear, this is the first time they're seeing this information. So it's brand new to everybody as part of that. And it's certainly not our intention to get any embarrassed or get a lot of answers tonight, just to share with you the feedback we've got on the first time we've gone and done this. So our first question was, what is your current level of activity supporting the Forward Party? And as we look at that, I confused a fair number of people with this survey question, where you kind of used to 1 is a terrible answer and 10 is a great answer. But I was concerned on a lot of these, were we doing too little or were we doing too much? So I did this 5 is the best answer for us. And I confused the heck out of a lot of people with that. I'm not sure how to do a better job going forward, but folks, I think eventually figured it out as part of this. So I grouped the scores 1 and 2 as we really need to improve that. 4, 5, and 6, we're doing a pretty good job. 8 and 9, we've got, we're wrong on the other side of really doing that. 3 and 7 are kind of so-so scores as part of that. So here, 4%, 40% said we were doing a pretty good job. So that's good. Only 1 response had us burning people out, and which I thought was a bigger problem than we had because of the turnover we had in 2024. I think many of the people who chose not to answer are no longer with us because they got burned out and just didn't respond to the survey. Otherwise, we would have gotten some more negative answers in 8 and 9 as part of this. Probably my biggest concern is that 1/3 of the respondents said we were not utilizing them very well or not at all. and we need to do a better job at that. That comment comes through in several of the other questions as well, and we'll talk especially about it when we look at the answers to question number 8 a little bit later. So question number 2, how have our communications been with you as part of this? So it looks like we're doing a pretty good job communicating with you. About 60% of the responses are 4, 5, or 6, and we're not swamping anybody with too many emails. About 1/3 would like to see better communications. It's not clear from just the number score if this means more frequent communications or better quality communications. But we'll see some of that in the comments that we've gotten as part of that. In questions 6 and 10, where I asked for the responses, 2 subjects came up consistently in both of the across that: leadership and communications. So we're going to be talking about both of them in some detail on those when we get to those questions. So I kind of skipped by did anybody have any comments or questions for number 1? So between 1 and 2, any comments, questions, I can certainly jump back to 1 if anybody has a comment or question there. And if I skip by another one asking for questions, somebody slap me on the wrist. Okay, number 3. Has the training we've given you helped become more productive? I was kind of surprised that we did as well as we did on this. I didn't think we were doing a very good job on training, and over 60% of us gave us a good score. And I was even surprised that 2 people felt they were getting a lot of training when I didn't think we were doing that much of it. But almost 30% want more training, and 19% have gotten no training. This is one of our priorities for 2026 that I'll talk about a little later. So any thoughts, questions as we look at these numbers?
No.
And certainly, folks can jump in or kind of raise your hand and that you want to say something. Either way, that's fine. So, how well have we communicated our game plan to be a political party in Maryland? Well, this is about as close as we got to a bell curve on any of our questions. And 41% of us gave us a pretty good score, but 14% don't know or understand our game plan, and 23% said we were spending more time on it than they thought we should. So the board has a planning meeting every January to put together our annual plan. So right now our goal is the February monthly meeting. We're going to present that plan to you and make sure that's a starting point. And I'll talk about some other ways that we can communicate our game plan and get folks understanding it and all of us in sync as part of that. One of the other responses we got, a number of questions, was just clarity. Folks are really looking for better clarity from us on that. So any comments on this slide?
I don't think so.
So how well do you understand our organizational structure? Well, 68% of you gave us a good score here. Too many people don't understand our organizational structure. So at the February meeting where the board chairs our 2026 plan, part of that's going to be how we're organized and who the people are. So one of the 2026 initiatives I'm going to talk about is a basic training session every month for new volunteers who joined us in that month. Part of that training will make sure that we cover how we're organized, who the people are, so folks understand that coming in as they get started. And we'll talk more about that a little later as well. So this is the last of kind of the number slides. Any thoughts, questions here before we jump into some of the textual responses? Okay. So do you know what our 5 priorities are, and do you agree with those priorities? So we had 21 responses on that of the 22 that I was able to plug in, and 10 just said yes. Okay. We got 6 maybe responses and 4 no responses. For each, so when I did this, I took the different responses and kind of aggregated them under some different headings to kind of pull them together. So here was yes, no, and maybe as part of that. So 6 of the respondents grouped us as maybe. The top 3, ranked choice voting, single all candidate primaries, and gerrymandering, most everybody got. But the 4th and 5th, we had a lot of fall off in terms of that. For the 4 of the responses that were no, 2 of the respondents kind of consistently commented they don't understand our positions. And so we'll see that comment coming up a number of times as we go through this, and clearly telling us we need to do a better job on that. Any thoughts on this one?
No. No.
So what suggestions do you have for us to do a quicker job of building a stronger political party in Maryland? So we've got lots of interesting responses here, enough so that I had to break them up into 3 different pages because some of them were pretty long comments. So I grouped them into 5 categories. 3 of those categories on this first page: leadership, communications, and expansion. But we had a lot of comments on platform and on our game plan. One question on our platform game plan, that's a whole page. So we'll get to those in just a second. So we are spread thin, particularly at the leadership level. And one of our 2026 priorities we really want to look at is creating second and third level tiers of management to spread out that workload. At the start of this year, we introduced a county lead concept to flatten it out and give people a local sense of what's going on in their county as well as at the statewide level. And originally, we had 6 county leads, all board members. Today, we have 5 county leads that are not board members. And in one of the counties, we have a board member and another volunteer as co-chairs. So 6 people moved up into a leadership role this year. We've got more counties being covered as part of that. That's the kind of thing we want to do more of in 2026. So really looking to have, for every committee we have and every county lead that we have, putting in place a deputy. Somebody is a number 2 in there. So if the lead is not available or overloaded, the deputy can fill in. And that deputy is learning to be able to step into that role. And eventually would love the board members to be board and more strategic thinking, not hands-on day-to-day. And different folks who come up to the ranks, able to lead all those committees and be able to give more time to it as part of that. So we have 2 aspects where all of our volunteers are pretty binary. First is, do they want to talk to total strangers at an event that we go to? Or if I put a gun to their head, they still wouldn't do it. Okay. And it's good for us to know which one you fall into because we need both. There's absolutely lots and lots of back office, back end things that we need as part of that. And as we move forward, particularly when we get party status the end of next year, we've got to get folks registering as members. We're going to need to do lots and lots of events and talk to them. So we need to know which one you're comfortable with. So even at some of those events, we could be doing a fair amount of data entry of capture people. So there could be a back-end job. Don't talk to anybody, just help us capture that information as quickly as possible. Those are some of the things we'll share as we go through as part of that. The other binary thing is, is being part of Forward something that can help you in your career path, not just contributing to a better political environment in Maryland, but learning things, being able to experience more things and develop, in terms of what you're doing, particularly moving into, different management roles and responsibility roles. Is that something that, can really help your resume when you're talking to different people as part of that? So some people really want, that kind of growth opportunity, and we want to understand that and help them because we've got lots of needs. At the same time, the other side of the binary is we've got folks who say, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, and I don't really want to take on that kind of role. And that's great too. We need those people, and just we need to know what one you are. And so we're respecting that and giving you the direction that you want to help you in terms of being effective and productive in what you do here as part of that. We've got lots of needs, both sides. We want to work with you to make that happen. I'll be talking more about meeting with volunteers as part of my 2026 plans. And we've got some notes on the newsletter here. We have a newsletter. The person who was doing that for us moved out of town. One of our new volunteers has just stepped in to take over that. So the newsletter will be coming out again shortly as part of that. We want to make sure that's getting to everybody and give that person more inputs in terms of the things we're doing that they want to talk about and other things that would be of interest to folks as part of that newsletter. So you'll be seeing it again soon. So before I jump to the next part of this, just in terms of these 3 topics in the comments, any thoughts there?
No.
Okay, platform. The discussion on platform for the Forward Party is a very active one right now, both at the national level and here in the Maryland chapter. first three comments are taking very different positions on the whole topic of platform, and that's not uncommon. One of the core positions of the Forward Party is that the platforms that both Republicans and Democrats have out each election are one size fits all. And no one agrees with everything in that platform. The Forward platform has been to support ethical, intelligent people and get them elected, knowing that some of us are going to disagree with some of the decisions that they make. But all of us have at least one issue, and usually several issues, that are very, very important to us. Some of the people that I respect very much have a very different position on a couple of the issues that I have. How can we convey to people that we, the Forward Party, are concerned about these issues, to register as a member to that party, just a second, Lee, if you can. And American citizens are concerned about this, but we really don't have a single answer that all of us can agree on. So, Lee, you had something you want to say?
No, sorry, that was a cough.
Oh, okay. So there's a very good short video that Christine Todd Whitman, one of the founders of the Forward Party, did a few weeks ago on this topic. And in a second, I'll go in, pause and go into the chat and post that link to it. It's about a 5-minute video. And I just encourage folks to download and listen to it, but please not while I'm talking tonight. So you can listen to it a little bit later. I think this whole topic of how we should talk about issues and help prospective members understand we think they're important, but we want to also respect differences of opinion on what's the best way to solve that. And maybe that should be one of our statewide meetings that we have, where we can throw out some ideas and get people's comments and thoughts on that. So I'd like to hear your thoughts and feedback about how we can really move ahead more with that kind of discussion. So the third portion of our answers to number 7 was, what is our game plan? And here we had an individual put a whole lot of thought into, what's our game plan? So I put that on that page to give you a chance to look at it and see what they had to say. I think some of the key points that he or she raised are that we're a grassroots level, and that's, I think, an important part of our message. We're not really trying to change presidential elections. We're trying to change things at the city, county, and state level. And it's important that folks understand that. They have some concerns that we need to build a strong foundation, not only folks that sign a petition for us to be a party, but to join and register as a member of that party, and concerns that if we are planning to use a commercial company to get those signatures, won't let us build that community. We tried that approach for 3 years, and there just aren't enough volunteers and events to make that happen. And most of the states who've gotten political status did it by funding and getting a professional company to get those signatures for them. So when we get those 10, 17,000 people, that information is going to go into our database. That's part of that massive data entry that I mentioned. And we're going to be able to reach back to them, maybe by postcard, because we probably won't have email addresses. But we've got a way to reach out to those people who gave us some level of endorsement or support, and try and bring them into that community. The fundraising effort that we do to get folks funding this effort will certainly give us folks more interested and a base there as part of that. So, recognizing the concern that this person is raising, but we pretty much believe if we're going to get there, we're going to have to get professional help, that we just don't have enough people and enough places to send those people for us to do it on our own. Last comment on this is college campuses. That's absolutely a great target for us. It's something we want to do more, and really looking for some of our young forwardists to help us get invited onto some of the campuses and start the dialogue there with those folks as well. So any thoughts, questions here? Yes,
I was just
Bob?
getting ready to type it into the chat, Bill. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the raise your hand thing. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
No problem. Small enough group, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I find it interesting point on the commercial company too. I mean, I agree that they could help get the original petition signatures, but if I remember the numbers that you gave me in our kickoff meeting about how many people we would need to register then, That seems to me to be a far bigger challenge. And that's where I mean, I don't know, maybe the commercial company stays with us and helps us through that part of the process as part of what we're talking about. But to me, that seems like a much bigger challenge than the first part.
The signatures, we need to turn in 17,000, so 10,000 get selected. And it's like 35,000 registered, so it's double the number of signatures we turn in. So yeah, it's a bigger number, but not 10 times that number. I think, to me, what makes the most sense is Maryland has close to 1 million independents. They have no political party, no home, and no voice. If we help them understand that we can give them a voice and we can give them a play to be involved, all we need, why can't we get 25%, 250,000 members?
So I understand your logic. My point is, if you hire a company to go out and get petition signatures at first, that's one thing. Okay, we got the 17,000. Then you run into the same problem that you guys have been struggling with for the past 2 years, right? Which is, how do you get people to actually switch and register, which to me seems like a far more difficult task. I understand the logic. I'm just saying what I'm reading here in this comment, I'm concerned about as well, right? Because then that's when people actually have to start switching over from whatever they are today. That's going to be a much more difficult task, I think.
Good point, Dave.
Yeah.
I think a couple of thoughts there. Number one is, as PJ mentioned, one of our priorities that we're having some good success with is bringing in more and more volunteers so we can do more things. A second thing is, one of the committees that we have is investigating all different ways we can talk to more people. What are events we don't know about? For the 3 years, all the events were warm weather. They were outdoor events. And come November up through March, we're sitting on our hands. So we need to find the cold weather things, and who are the different organizations, clubs, and Rotary Club, and League of Women Voters, who we can talk to about joint meetings and other things, and not only get more but bigger audiences part of that. So we've got a whole group that's helping identify how do we have more, bigger, better conversations, and certainly use some more folks helping that group in that effort. PJ, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, to Dave's point and to the comment here too, this is the big undertaking, right? And I think this is almost a yes and kind of thing we're looking at here. Like, we will probably have to pay for a large portion of these signatures, and we should be expanding and building this network as we go. I think part of the idea is that we expand the network to a certain point, maybe to like the 10 to 12,000 range, so that we can fundraise honestly from that expanded network, get a little bit of buy-in. We could ask for like a $10 donation from a small or from a large audience like that to pay for the signatures. And now we start to get that next level of like buy-in from everybody without asking for too much. And then once we get party status, now we have at least 10,000 people, maybe up to like 17,000 people that have heard of us, know of us. At some point we'll start to get that rolling momentum. And we'll have 4 years till 2030 to get to that 2035 or that 35,000 mark. So, like Bill's saying, we have a committee, Laura Turby's on it, several other members here are on it. There's 5 or 6 of us that are outreaching regularly to organizations, neighborhood association groups, doing meet and greets, and we're trying to tap into other people's networks and using those other networks as ways to kind of expand our network a little bit.
So does the commercial, I didn't know, I don't mean to bogart all the time here, so I'll just ask one other thing. So
Yeah, no, it's great.
does the commercial company help us with the second piece, or do they just help us with the 17,000 signatures on the
Just the
petition?
signatures.
Just the signatures. So yeah, okay. So we've got to figure out how we're going to take that second. That's really where we need to hone it. Okay, thanks.
Definitely. Yep.
I think, Dave, we really got 2 significant gates that we got to get through. Okay. And to be a political party this time next year, we've got to navigate both those gates. The first is the fundraiser and raising the money that we need. And we haven't done that before to any kind of success. So that's definitely a challenge that we need to overcome. Once we do that and get those signatures, then we've got to have this organization in place that can get our message out to hundreds of thousands of people and get the people registered that we need to. So those are absolutely the two biggest challenges that we've got.
Okay. Got it.
Anyone else? So question 8, what suggestions do you have for us to make folks more effective and get more people involved? And here the answers really fell into two categories: leadership here, and the next page, communications as part of that. So no question, the first 3 comments really hit a key point. We've not done a good job as the leadership in getting our new volunteers up to speed and productive. Some have dropped off, and others are letting us know that we're not using them as effectively as we should. Many of our board members are barely keeping up with the time that they can devote to the Forward Party because we're all volunteers, and folks have lots of other things that they have to do, including family work and others. Getting new volunteers up to speed. We want to find some ways to take some of that load off them. And this is going to be one of our key topics at our 2026 planning meeting. Some things we're already talking about are getting some of our very effective volunteers moved up to be that deputy role to offset some of that load and help also at the same time groom them to take on even more responsibility if that's what they want. I'm going to be talking about doing a training program for new volunteers every month, putting on a training session. I'll get the details of that a little bit later, that anybody who joined us that month can join. And if folks weren't able to join the month that they came in, they can the next month or the month after. And certainly any of our volunteers who want to get refresher and help or can dial in at any time. It's going to be on our calendar, and anybody can come in and join as part of that. And that's going to take some of that load that folks will be, conversant in our organization, conversant in our messaging going into that role. So it'd be less that the committee has to train them in terms of the specifics that they're looking as part of that. We're going to be building a training library to make available to volunteers to help them get more quickly up to speed. And one of the ideas is where there's different roles, positions, or functions that we're going to be doing over and over, and we're going to be training different volunteers how to do that same thing. Well, let's take a little bit of time and record it and be able to give that person the recording so we don't have to hand train them every single time. So some of the automation ideas that we want to try and bring them in. We've got the tools, let's utilize them and do some things. So I'll talk more on this in a few minutes about our 2026 plan. We want to be specific about what we need done and better clarity on our goals and plans. So, that's again be a fairly consistent comment that we need to listen to and understand that. A couple of positive comments at the bottom, which appreciate, and that's good. If you think somebody might be interested in volunteering, let me know. We're having good success exploring different ways that they can help us and find a good place to start. So, one person suggesting that they want to point the new prospective volunteer to the right person, bring them into the volunteer organization. Let us explain the whole picture to them and help them talk to 1 or 2 people and find that right role. I think we can really do that, and it makes sense to do it in that fashion. The idea of having a drill down page on our website that talks specifically about the 8 or 10 positions we most want to fill, that's a great idea. And we can keep that refreshed and current as part of that. So that's one I'm going to add to my list, that something that we want to do as part of that. So any thoughts on these leadership comments before I jump over to communications?
Sorry, if I could jump in, this might be a good segue.
Sure.
Between the two. I mean, I haven't seen anything. The whole reason I heard of this party or whatever we want to, alternative, is because I listen to C-SPAN every morning. And Lindsay Drath, who I know socially here in DC. I'm like, oh, look at Lindsay on C-SPAN on Washington Journal. What's she doing? So, but I haven't seen anything else. So I don't know what, Andrew Yang or Christy Todd Whitman or anyone else is doing in terms of media, but I feel like some of those higher profile people, we need to draft off of that to the extent that they can get in front of any kind of mass media. And then we need to, that's sort of at the high level. And then on a more micro level, and I'm sorry, I just answered the questionnaire as we started the meeting because I don't know if it goes into my sort of different buckets of email I get that I just delete en masse because I get these emails for this meeting and so forth, but I didn't see the questionnaire prior to that. But I think on things like Facebook and Instagram, where a lot of political discussion and discourse and I guess arguments as well occur, is happening on Facebook and Instagram and I guess Twitter. I'm not really or X, an X user, but those are things catch fire in that social media world. And I think that really needs to be an emphasis here to sort of, if you post something, it resonates with someone else. I mean, obviously, we're just coming out of this government shutdown, the dysfunction that we have. I mean, there's a reason we're all on this call is because we recognize that this duopoly is a dysfunctional system. It's been in place for a long time. I was a libertarian, registered libertarian here in Maryland, and I got that, when I got that letter that said the Libertarian Party is no longer an acknowledged party in Maryland because nobody showed up in essence. So I would hope that I don't know if anyone has reached out to the Maryland, whatever's left of it, Libertarian Party, but that seems like pretty prime pickings. Maybe not for the people that are, wearing a boot on their head or whatever, but for people that just have a bit more of a rational approach to life, and how things actually need to work. You can't have anarchy, but view government hopefully as a referee rather than someone who's picking winners and losers. And my interest in this is to the extent it has some congruence with a sane libertarian approach to the world, and wants to create that sort of, I've called it for a long time a keel party that's in between the right and the left that can be a broker and maybe a deciding vote in a lot of things. I mean, that's where the power is. I mean, there's a power in a minority, which we've just seen in this shutdown where the Democrats in the minority, everyone's going, oh, the Republicans are running everything, and so they're in charge. This is their thing. That's not how it works. I mean, that's just a comment based in ignorance because of the filibuster and the 60 vote rule. So um, imagine if there were 10 forward party people in the Senate. They'd be running things. So it's just, I have found in my life it's very difficult to dislodge people from very deep-seated and baseless, frankly, allegiances to the Democrats and the Republicans. So I would think that the messaging, if it can come from, the Andrew Yangs, the Christy Todd Whitmans, I don't know what other big name, purple, whatever whatever the group is, that coalition of people, and then Lindsay, in on the next rung, to try to push things and then push it through the grassroots, through the social media, which really is what grassroots is today. It's social media. So anyway, I just wanted to chime that into the communication as we start that discussion.
Thank you. So the National Forward Party is pretty active in social media, and we could probably do a better job of leveraging that and reinforcing it. One of our challenges is, last I looked, the Maryland Forward Party had 46 followers on Facebook. We should have 10,000. Okay. And as I talked to our prospective volunteers, one of whom's on this call and just talked to last week, you know, she's going to help us change things and put together messages that will bring us to a much larger following. And that's what we need, is more people who understand that and are willing to step up and help us do that, to build that kind of presence. You're absolutely right. Social media is the single biggest factor, and we haven't done that anywhere near as well as we should, and we need a lot of help to do it better.
Hey, Bill, I have a comment.
Yes.
Just very quickly, I mentioned specific assignments, and I appreciate what everyone is doing and contributing. But I think that's my only hesitation right now is, I've joined, and honestly, I've joined recently, so I've missed a few like monthly meetings or weekly meetings, and that's my fault. But my hesitation is, where do I go from here? What can I be doing at the local level in my community to bring visibility and just to bring visibility to the party? So I'm optimistic about that, but that's my only, I think the communication is great. I think the training has been great. That's my only hesitation. And that's, I did leave that comment.
Thanks, Chase. So what we really need you to do, and tell me how I can help you accomplish that, is get involved with one of our committees. Almost all of them meet once a month, and that on our events page they're listed, and when they're meeting, sit down in their meeting, just introduce yourself and listen. Okay. And you see something that makes sense to you, get involved. Okay. And that's what we need, is folks to find a role that makes sense to them, that they're excited about. And there's lots of them. So, and I think I don't have my notes in front of me if we talked about a couple of things I thought you were particularly interested in, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. But get involved with one of the committees, and I think very quickly you'll find some very specific things that we need that you can help us with.
Okay. Thank you.
Chase, and for everybody too, one of the new resources that we've just recently launched within the last maybe month or so is a help desk as well, a volunteer help desk. So we'll share that. If Bill doesn't have it in here, we'll share that at the end of all this. And when in doubt, feel free to always use that resource too. There's 4 or 5 people monitoring that help desk. So if you don't know who to talk to, if you don't know how to connect with somebody, if you're not getting an answer from somebody, always use that, and we can find a way to funnel you to who you need to talk to, how to find a resource, what activities are happening. So
Great. Thank you. And I know Bill mentioned the help desk. I think in my experience, and maybe it's just my work style, but I'm very much top down. And I think that what I'm finding is with the Democratic Party and the Republican, like when I was on my Democratic Central Committee, I was pretty much told what I was going to do. I mean, I volunteered, but the structure was very different. And I think it's a great thing for me to kind of choose where I fit. So it's just a matter of getting used to it as well. But yeah, thanks so much.
This is definitely a choose your own adventure kind of organization.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, thank you.
So on the communication side, first point's a very good one, and we're going to try and address some of the better communications internally with volunteers and some of the initiatives I'll talk about shortly. We've for several years used Discord as a group communications tool. We've got a pilot project ongoing to look at moving to Google Chat, and we're trying to standardize on as many Google tools as possible as part of that. If anyone would like to jump in and help with that pilot effort, drop me a note and I'll get you to the right people to get involved with that as well. The events that we've done the last over 3 years have almost been outdoor events in warm weather, as I mentioned. And we've got a team now as PJ mentioned, looking at all different kinds of relationships and events and things that we want to do. We definitely could use more help there. So, that community outreach committee, their next meeting is next week on the 18th. Again, you can find that on the webpage, find the link for it, join it, listen, if that's something that you're interested in. Our first meeting of the volunteer committee, it's the first Wednesday of every month, so December 3rd will be our next one as part of that. And there's other meetings there, communications committee, candidates committee, legislative affairs committee. So great ways to look, listen, and find some things that they need help on and you're excited doing as part of that. You're definitely welcome to sit in and listen to those. And most of the committee meetings are about 30 minutes long, so it's not a major time commitment. Committees are more quick updates and getting folks be able to get back and get things done as part of that. So, question 9: what other shared thoughts do you have that things that you could help us as part of that? So, scheduling meetings for groups of volunteers. The first one that's always a challenge. And different folks have different feelings about that. Some think, really would love to do a weekend meeting. Other folks, don't touch my weekend, I'll do evenings, or I'll carve out time at work. I think what we need to do is get, each of the groups, what's the best time for the most people. And again, all of us have other commitments. There's no expectation that you're going to make 100% of the meetings. One of the reasons we want a deputy is when the leader can't be there, that meeting still happens, and the deputy can lead it as part of that. So at the December 3rd meeting for our volunteer committee, I'm going to discuss, we're right now targeted at 5:30 to 6, the first Wednesday of every month. How well does that work for folks? And if we need to change it, we'll change it. I just picked that as a starting point to get us started. But, I think what we need to do is understand different people's schedules and find the one that works for the most people. Our fundraising effort that we talk about here, a comment there is question on that. How confident are we? Now, that is, as I said, one of the 2 gates that we have to get through as part of that. And we're definitely looking for anybody with some experience, contacts there, how to make that campaign as effective as possible so we get through that gate, raise that money, and are able to move forward as part of that. Last comment there. I hope that people learn Forward. What does that mean? Well, we can't change the name. Forward Party is kind of locked in as the name as part of that. But what we really need to do is bring value and priorities that people understand and are interested in joining us. So comment was made that Republicans and Democrats are kind of locked in. I talk to an awful lot of people, so I'm a Republican who's not locked in, and a lot of people I've talked to are Democrats who are not locked in, feeling more and more left behind as the parties move to the right and move to the left, and moderates, centrists, just have no place in that party any longer. So I think the 3 targets for us to be successful are independents and centrists, moderates in both the political parties. And there's no reason we can't have 1 million members. If we could get our message to those people effectively, we bring great value and they're very disenchanted right now. So that's what we've got to target. So, 34,000 or 30,000, whatever that number is, that we got to get there. But we ought to be thinking about 1 million.
Bill, if I can add just a quick note on the last bullet there, just so everybody knows, we are making some headways in Annapolis with the legislature. This is the first year we're actually helping draft legislation. So we're hoping to do that with both a Democrat on one piece of legislation related to open primaries and with a Republican related to the 2030 Constitutional Convention and getting that initially on the ballot because that has to be voted on. So starting that discussion. So some 2 big reforms, one with the Democrat, one with the Republican. So some interesting stuff happening. We're happy to share more if anybody has questions or thoughts on any of that.
Okay, so last question. If you're no longer interested, share the reasons, whatever. We didn't get many responses here. And the people who dropped off didn't want to, saw no reason to respond to the survey. And that's certainly understandable here. This is the first time that we've asked volunteers for feedback on how we're doing, and I'm glad we did it. I found it really interesting going through this. I'm planning, for those of you, to follow up and send you an email with these slides so you have them. We're going to be posting the recorded link for this meeting on YouTube. I'll send you that as well. If you want to look at it, refresh, or give it to somebody else, or suggest somebody else look at it as part of this. I'm planning to do this again next year, and I'd welcome any thoughts, comments, how to do a better job. If my 5 is a good score, 1 and 10 are bad scores, if there's a better way to get those answers, I'd welcome it. If somebody wants to help me wade through the responses and come up with the results, I'd welcome that help. So, any thoughts, ideas, and help that you want to get involved in. But I think this was a really valuable exercise for us, and one that's going to be very helpful for us as we put together our 2026 plans. So before I jump into a couple minutes on the plans for 2026 for our volunteer committee, any last thoughts, comments, questions on these, the volunteer survey and the feedback that we got?
Not really.
Hey, Bill,
Laura?
would it be, I know this took a lot of work and this is great. Do you think there'd be an opportunity to maybe do this kind of pulse check, sort of almost mid-year as well, maybe, every 6 months, sort of revisit some of the questions and see how much it changes rather than waiting for a full year? And since I'm asking for that, I could always help you with that if needed.
But that's the key. Yes, I absolutely do think it would be, I'm going to be jumping into my plans and my challenges against that plan, and people to help me is the biggest challenge. So yes, if I can get some help and do that, I'd love to do it every 6 months. I think that can really help us. Particularly, we're in very formative stages. We've doubled the number of volunteers since the election in November. We're growing rapidly, and we need to be at about 200 active volunteers by the time we're official political party, and what people will expect from us as a kind of organization that they can trust and want to be part of. So we've got a lot to do, and we need folks to help us do that. So starting here with my concept for the organization chart for the volunteer committee, and concept in terms of this is where I want to be this time next year. And a lot of things have to happen for us to get there as part of that. But our volunteer efforts for the last 3 years have really been bringing more volunteers in, recruiting and outreach to get folks involved. And 2 great people, Rachel and Jen, have helped me do that. And now a 4th person, Dan Blum, has joined us. He's going to be doing that initial call that I've been doing with prospective volunteers. I agreed last month to take a position on the board where I could spend time to build out the committee that we need, instead of just recruiting, being the foundation, supporting all the different groups and getting them the right people and helping those people be productive and helping them grow professionally as part of this. So right now we've got 4 people involved, and all of us are volunteers with a lot of demands on our time as part of this. So, I need to get at least 4 more people as my number 1 needs to do some of the things that we really need to do as part of that. So a deputy chair is one to help offload me and give me some help in the organization as part of this. Number 2 is our training coordinator. As we put together training for our volunteers and helping offload some of the committee people instead of training people, we can give them folks with a fair amount of training and less that they have to do in the field, and be able to get more folks involved. Got folks that just can't find the time to train a new volunteer, and that person goes away because nobody's talking to them. We've got to fix that. And I think with doing as much of that training that we can help at the volunteer side and minimizing what needs to be done just to the specifics of that role, that's going to help solve that problem. Number 2 is the help desk. As PJ mentioned, we've got that hotline and people monitoring it. I want to make it bigger. Uh, I want to have a whole different chat sessions that both can jump on. And whether it's Google Chat or we stay with Discord, whatever it is, places where people can chat with us and chat with each other just about volunteer things. And Dan Bloom is volunteered to, in addition to doing the calls, to do some, help to put that together as part of that. We're going to have folks who've got a problem that's very urgent or that's very sensitive. They're not comfortable putting it in an email or especially not in a chat session. So I want to have somebody who's willing to pick up the phone if somebody's got to do that. So that help desk point of contact, the coordinator, is put together all the different ways that we can really foster much better communications with folks in different ways. And then the fourth one is our monthly meetings coordinator. We've been doing monthly meetings for the last year and a half, and we've gotten some feedback. We want to respond to that. So in 2026, the plan is that each quarter we're going to do a meeting each month, so 3 meetings each quarter. 2 of those are going to be outward facing to attract people to get interested in the Forward Party, know about the Forward Party, support us financially, support us with becoming a member, and support us by some of them deciding they want to be a volunteer and get involved. So the 3rd meeting is going to be an inward facing to our volunteers and the things that are important to them. We've got some feedback that we're not hearing from you. We don't know what's going on. So we want to be able to do that and let our volunteers know. And these are the things that you want to hear about. So right now, the plan is we're going to put together our 2026 plan at our board meeting in January. And our February monthly meeting will be presenting that plan to our volunteers. And who are the people? This is what they're doing. And these are our goals. This is what we want to get done in 2026. So that will be our first internal facing meeting. The other ones, January and March, will be external meetings. But looking for somebody who can take that role on and define the topic for the meetings, get the speakers for it, promote the meetings. All those things are time consuming. So we need to get somebody. I need to get somebody who can take that on as part of that and help us grow that as part of that. If anybody's interested in any one of those 4 roles, if you drop me a note, you'll have my priority to get back to you and get involved. If you know somebody you think might be interested in joining us as a volunteer, love to talk to them as part of that. By the end of the year, I want to have a volunteer who works closely with each of our committees, both to help the volunteers on that committee and to help them get the additional volunteers that they need. So that's the lowest line on the org chart, is a liaison at each of those committees and to help them and make sure they've got the staff trained, doing the things that they need to as part of that. And just above that, a liaison coordinator as the person getting that organized and helping monitor and work with those people to get that happen. So that's what I'll be talking about 6 months from now, is expanding, and by the end of the year, getting that in place. So we've got an organization supporting us on all the different things that we're doing. So any thoughts, questions on the organization before I jump into the last slide, which is our planned initiatives?
Hey, Bill, there is one more part that I think we'll eventually play into this as well, but as our county teams grow, we also want to have a volunteer liaison or a volunteer coordinator at the county level, at each county level, as part of that core county leadership team.
Yes. Okay. Good thought.
That will start to funnel in here as well.
Okay. So planned initiatives. These initiatives will happen as soon as I can add some people to help me make them happen. And so that's going to be a constant theme. And Dan and I, as we talk to prospective volunteers on the calls, we've got one tomorrow. We're going to make sure they know these kind of roles are where we're looking for help, as well as in our legislative affairs, candidates and events and all our other committees, but definitely be letting them know as well so we can do that. So we've mapped out a process for onboarding new volunteers and be using one of our tools to track that, help us remind it, get some emails out automatically instead of us having to write them, to automate it, both to give us a repetitive process and to automate some of the things to make it a little easier in terms of doing that. I talked a lot about training when going through the different survey results. And I want to have a volunteer training class on the calendar every month. And as part of the ongoing process, our new volunteers are steered to join that. Hopefully in the month they join us. If not, as soon after that as they can. There's a lot that we could do to help them be more productive more quickly and lessen the load on our committees by doing that. So I'm going to ask the volunteers to commit to 90 minutes for that initial training and the things that we want to accomplish there. And my hope is to do a trial run of this training in December, if my workload lets me get there. And by the end of the month, I'll let you know. And if we're doing it, publish that date, let everybody know about it. Invite all of our volunteers to sit in on that. And looking for two things. First, feedback. Is this training useful? And so giving volunteers what they need. And number two, does it help you? Does it answer some questions you had and make you more comfortable in some of the things that you're doing as part of that? We're looking at three key segments that we do in that 90 minutes. The first is our organization. So who's our leadership? Who are our board members? What are their roles? Who are our county chairs? How we organize the different committees and what they do as part of that. In December, we're going to be talking about where we are today, 2025. Okay, good chance that's going to change in January when we have our board meeting and look at our plans for 2026. But we'll just talk about the current org chart in this first trial run that I hope to do in December. The second piece is, what is our game plan and schedule to be recognized as a political party? And we saw lots of people not understanding that and having questions. So we want to be upfront and help people really understand that. And then the biggest piece of that is, what are our 5 priorities? So we've got a set of slides that we've used successfully when we've been invited into a group to present who is the forward party and what are our priorities. And when they've given us an hour to present and have some good time for question and answer, this has been very, very effective. So we're going to use those slides to introduce what our priorities are. What is ranked choice voting? Why? How does it work? What are the arguments against it? What are the arguments for it? And go through our different priorities and explain that information. So those are the 3 key pieces we're going to cover in the training. And again, I'm hopeful we'll be able to do it in December, and hopefully we'll get a lot of folks sitting in and giving good comments that we can make it even better for what we're going to do each month in 2026. So I'll be sending all of you, the people who RSVP'd but couldn't join us, an email with a copy of these slides and a link to the recorded meeting. Generally, it's a couple days till that's up on YouTube, and I give you that link. So you'll probably see it, over the weekend or early next week as part of that. I did make a couple of suggestions to you in a couple of areas that if you're interested in one of these things, drop me a note, let me know. I'll get you the right person. I'll get you involved, and I absolutely will. I will ask a little bit of indulgence on Friday. My wife is having her hip replaced. So next week I will have a few extra things on my job card. So it might be a day or two before I get back to you instead of an hour or two. Please don't take that as lack of interest. I will get back to you and do that. We've got 141 names of volunteers, but we've probably got 30 or 40 of them who are currently really active for us. We're working internally right now to confirm those names and the roles as part of that. I think some of those who were inactive all of them had interest at some point. I want to reach out to them and see if we can get some of them to re-engage. So I'm really looking for some ideas, thoughts, and arms and legs to reach out to those folks. We've got phone numbers, we've got email, and see if we can re-engage with some of those folks. And if we get 10 or 15 out of 100, that would be great. Okay, so that's something else where we could really use some help as part of that. PJ has mentioned the help desk. I talked about that. One way we can really help our new volunteers and offload our board members is if we can give a new volunteer a buddy and somebody they can talk to and share and experience, looking at that as being a kind of a one-on-one relationship. So we'll be reaching out to all the volunteers and asking, would you be willing to take on a buddy for 6 months to a year? And as many folks who say yes, we'll be able to have that many buddies. So, give that some thought. That's something you can do. And again, not looking at you to have 5 buddies, just 1. Okay. And just build a little relationship with that person and help them. And I think that can really help us progress. So looking for that. And then the last thing is we've got a number of volunteers who are doing great work for us. And 4 or 5 people know about it. You know, probably half the board doesn't know some of the people who are just doing great things, but their name just hasn't come up. So I want to start a volunteer of the month. So I'm going to ask the board each month to agree on one of the people that's doing great things for us and give them the recognition that they deserve. I'll be asking you to send me a picture so we can put it in our newsletter, put it in social media, and let folks know the great things that you're doing. So those are the different notes and initiatives that I want to do. And one last time, they're going to get done as fast as I can get people on board helping me. So that's what I had. We're about 5 minutes over, but certainly could spend some more time. Stay here. If folks have got thoughts or questions, happy to answer them. So why don't we turn the recording off, Pete, and then folks can say anything they want. They're not on the record.